One of the most highly anticipated films of the year is hitting Disney Plus this weekend, as it is a highly anticipated sequel to the most watched film during the Halloween season. And I'm really excited to talk about this one in particular because I may have a lot of hot takes with it. So let's get to it. Welcome back, film fans. It is Brad from Let's Be Real Brad, and today in the channel, I want to talk to you guys about the brand new Disney Plus original fantasy comedy film called Hocus Pocus 2. Hocus Pocus 2 is a sequel to the 1993 cult classic Hocus Pocus, as it is directed by Anne Fletcher. Once again, the film stars Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, Kathy Najimy, and Doug Jones. This film is about three young women who accidentally bring back the Sanderson sisters to modern-day Salem and must figure out how to stop the child-hungry witches from wreaking havoc on the world. So going into this film, I didn't have a lot of anticipation for it, considering the fact that I have never really been a big fan of the original Hocus Pocus film, and a lot of that is due to watching the film when I was a lot older. I did a review on it a couple years ago, and you will see that I just didn't really care for it, but I can completely understand why people really enjoy and love this film. To my surprise, I thought this was actually a pretty solid sequel. To a lot of the Hocus Pocus fans out there, I think a lot of you guys are going to be very disappointed by this film because this movie should have came out years ago, as I do feel like the whole idea of the Sanderson sisters coming back to the modern age around 20 years later isn't as interesting, especially when you lose a lot of that 90s aesthetic and trying to keep everything cool and hip to the modern world. This movie does fail to be able to utilize the modern world as I think it could have in the 90s. So let's just dive right into the positives first, and I do have to start with the cast here, as the Sanderson sisters, played by Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy, are excellent in this movie, and they once again proved that this movie would not work without them, as I really enjoy the chemistry they have with one another, as they are the funniest characters and they offer so much energy on the screen. Everybody else in this movie is pretty solid, like Tony Hale shows up at one point in this movie, and I think he did a pretty good job. All the three young girls in this movie were pretty solid, as none of them really stood out to me personally, but I think they did a good job for this type of movie. By far, the best aspect about this film has got to be the backstory of the Sanderson sisters that we didn't really get much of in the original movie. Sure, we get a little bit of a backstory of why the Sanderson sisters are not in the modern day age and why they are such a legend in the 90s Salem culture, but this movie dives in a little bit more into the childhood of the Sanderson sisters that I thought was actually really interesting. There are moments sprinkled throughout the movie that just have all that type of fun that you would want to expect from a movie like this, especially that one scene where they're in the drugstore and they're looking at all the cosmetics, and just seeing all the jokes and the humor from the Sanderson sisters was really great and funny to watch. And I also found that this movie just knew exactly what it was, and it was lighthearted, and it tried to capture that magic from the original movie. I also really enjoyed the final act of this movie that I thought was very strong, and it was kind of emotional, which I was not expecting. Unfortunately, this movie does have a lot of negatives here, and I do have to start with the first one being the product placement. I'm the type of person that doesn't mind product placement in movies, but when it's just dedicated as a whole scene and just shoved in your face like a Transformers movie or Smurfs movie, then it becomes extremely distracting, especially when you have whole scenes dedicated like the Walgreens scene and the Alexa scene that weren't really all that funny to begin with, and it just makes the movie so much more infuriating and just feel like this is a corporate made movie. For people that are going into this film that are just wanting to see the original movie and just done in a recycled way, then you're pretty much going to get what you want. But I did feel the story was very bland and uninteresting and just didn't give me anything that I really wanted to care about. I also found some of the dialogue to be kind of boring and bland, especially especially when it came to some of the other storylines in this movie between the three girls, which I thought were the weakest aspect of the film, especially when it comes with these three friends that are having communication issues. The dialogue between them just feels so on the nose and not subtle in the slightest, and I almost wish this whole storyline was just out of the movie. And the final negative I have with this movie has got to be the presentation here, as I found it was just really bland. I found the original movie to be kind of bland as well, and none of the shots really popped or just as iconic as, you know, a great movie should. And this movie follows that same trend with the cinematography just being really bland and uninspired, and so many shots in this movie are just your typical studio made shots. I know a lot of people aren't really going to care about an aspect like this, but I think this movie could have added a lot more detail and pizzazz to the presentation that could have made me feel more engaged to the film, because I was feeling really bored with it, especially with how boring the story is. Overall, Hocus Pocus 2 was a entertaining and fun legacy sequel film that I think that the Hocus Pocus fans will be disappointed by, but I think will still enjoy this movie. Even though that I have no nostalgia for the movie, I liked it slightly more, and I think this is the type of movie that you can watch during the Halloween season, but I don't think you'll probably ever want to watch this movie again and just want to watch the original film. I am giving Hocus Pocus 2 a 6 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for checking out this review. As I want to know below in the comment section, have you guys seen Hocus Pocus 2 and how does it compare to the original film? I can't wait to hear about those. Before you guys check out this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a like if you want to, and ring that notification bell so I can see you all in the following video.